And so we're going to now talk about scholarships and the different type of scholarships. And so forgive me for all the information on these on my slides. I try not to put too much on there, but there's just so much information to cover. So I'm going to try to condense it as best as possible. So if you have questions, go ahead and put it in the chat box, and then Alvin will ask and, ask me, the questions, so that way, I can answer them. But I want to start off by talking about ASI scholarships, which is completely different than College of Ed scholarships. So ASI scholarships are through the Associated Students Inc. Incorporated, and they are scholarships that are offered every year, both in spring and fall semester. And so the spring scholarships right now are open, so you can apply. There's many scholarships there for undergraduate students and grad students. Sometimes our grad students feel like a little left out, like, there's so much for undergrad, what about us grad students? And this includes credential students. So there's scholarships there for parents, there's scholarships there for graduate students, and there's scholarship there for undergrad, and there's scholarships there if you're credential seeking. So please look into that. But I've added, like the spring 2021 scholarship deadline. So it's open as of January 25th. The application deadline is March 5th, so it's kind of coming up already in the next few weeks. We're in February already. It's going to be Valentine's Day next Sunday. So I tell students, hurry up, try to get your application in. These scholarships are awarded at the end of the semester. So that's usually a question that comes up. Like, when are we going to, if I am the recipient of a scholarship? For ASI scholarships, you will see the money get deposited into your financial aid account at the end of the semester. So it's not like you're going to see it throughout the semester. So they do it that way in case if you do have an owing balance and you need to pay it off before graduation or before the semester ends in order for you to register for summer courses. These scholarships will be deposited at the end, where like College of Ed, it's a little different, and I'll go over that in a little bit. But I've added the website on there and a QR link. So if you want to follow me along, and you can go ahead and take a look. So College of Education, I wanted to make sure to just mention that through the EICC, we have travel reimbursements. And I added there, she's the vice chair of the EICC, her contact information. And then I know that this has been shared, but the EICC website, so that way you can look up other information about what the EICC has to offer. But know that you can get conference fees and travel fees. I know right now we're not doing like actual travel, physical travel, but if you're doing like an online conference that's required for your program, you apply, you might be able to get that money reimbursed. And so there's a process to it. Like I said, contact Ashley. So our College of Education webpage is where we have the link for the College of Education scholarship bulletin, and that gets the scholarship bulletin gets uploaded to that webpage every year when the new one comes out. So right now, the one that we have, the link there is for the 2021-22 academic year. So for the next academic year, the one for this spring semester and last fall has completely closed. So you're applying like a year in advance, for the scholarships. And so these scholarships are all donated by donors from the College of Education, former alumni, teachers in the field, people who just want to contribute to what the work of, the work that the College of Education is doing and supporting teachers and educators. So you can find the scholarship bulletin on there. And that scholarship bulletin is really going to be what's going to guide you through how to apply, the criteria, the list of scholarships, everything, and the amount. So I tell students, really take a look at that. I mean, it's lengthy because we have over 25 scholarships, but all the information you need is in that scholarship bulletin, okay? So the QR link, is there, QR code, in case if you want to open it up and kind of follow it as I go through a couple of them. I'm not going to go through all of them because, like I said, there's over 25 of them, but I'm going to provide some examples. So that way you can kind of see what that looks like, the process, and then some helpful tips, because it can be overwhelming to apply to scholarships, right? Because you're doing a lot right now. You're going to school, you have all this all these assignments, you have family responsibilities, you might have work, children. It can be a lot and it can be overwhelming, but I'm gonna tell you something right now. I oversee the scholarship process and I understand what it is to be in shoes. I'm actually a doctoral student right now and I'm overwhelmed. And so I try to alleviate it as much as possible for you so you can take advantage and apply and get funding. And so there's a lot of flexibility, and I'll go more into detail what that looks like. But just know that I'm here to make this as accessible and easy for you, okay? So the different types of Cal State Fullerton scholarships within the College of Education, our process starts in early January, kind of similar to ASI, except that ours starts the first week or the second week of January. And I send out an email, I notify students via the student portal messenger. It sends out an email and it sends out a message through your student portal, okay? And so the deadline to apply usually falls around February 28th, but I usually extend it. I always do, actually. Yeah. It's not like it's ever February 28th and it's a hard deadline. I extend it to about March 10th or further, depending on how many students email me telling me they need more time, or, you know, they're overwhelmed and they just, you know, especially right now, given, you know, our unique circumstances, I definitely want to extend that. So that'll get extended. But if you want to get things before February 28th, that's great too. It's up to you. It's not like it's any priority or anything. I just want to, you know, I mean, I don't want to confuse anyone, but I just want to make sure people are aware that given the unique circumstances, I definitely want to give you enough time to be able to apply. Okay. So it is a soft deadline. Scholarship applications get screened after the deadline of March 10th or whatever that is. I will screen the applications to make sure that they meet all of the criteria. And then from there, they go to various scholarship committees. So I set up about 15 scholarship committees that they represent different departments in the College of Education, and they're going to review your scholarship application. So this process kind of takes a long time because I do get over 200 scholarship applications. So this process can take us 2 months, it can take us 3 months, depending on the faculty who review it or the chairs of the departments and myself. Okay, so I'm not the only one looking at it. There's many people taking a look at your scholarship application. And then recipients are usually notified by the end of June. Sometimes it can be as late as July, depending on how fast the scholarship committees can get me the scholarships. But recipients will be notified anytime between June, I guess I would say the beginning of June to the end of June, preferably. Since these scholarships are for the next academic year, disbursements won't happen until the fall, and I'll go over that in a little bit.
Hey, Dania.
Next
So
slide.
we do have a question.
Okay.
Someone wanted to, and you might go into this a little bit more in the next slide, but some of the College of Education scholarships require a letter of recommendation, but don't give much info regarding what goes into the letter other than describing your potential for a career in education. Is there anything else to include for the recommenders to use?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to cover this in a little bit, but what I would say is this: if there, you know, for that letter of recommendation, there's many different formats for it, and you know, you're maybe wondering what does that mean. And so, if you already have a letter of recommendation from the past, like you know, from a former supervisor that you use for your admission application, even if it's 2 years outdated, we'll take it. You know, we'll take it. Um, you have to look at the scholarship requirements. Some of them have specifics, like they want a letter of recommendation from a current faculty member. Well, that might be hard to find. So if you have one already, and let's say that you're running out of time and you have one already in your file somewhere in your home, we'll take it. I will work with the scholarship committee to tell them this is what happened, this is what the student has. And honestly, they're pretty open, they're pretty flexible. So I would say try to follow what the requirements are, but understand that there's flexibility as long as you communicate with me. The key to your success as a student and to the scholarship process is, you know, making sure you communicate with when you need help. And so if for whatever reason, when it comes to letters of rec, you can't even get a hold of one, I mean, just let me know, because at least I can, if you have the rest of your application, requirements, I can talk to the scholarship committee and say, hey, this student was able to gather everything else, but this is missing. So I don't think it's fair if someone gets left out because they weren't able to get a letter of recommendation on time from their faculty member, or they didn't have one on file, or things just, um, it can be an incomplete file, in other words. So it'll be okay. Just please communicate up front so I can make a note of that. And when it's the screening process, I can make sure that I can keep your scholarship application in. There is a way on the online scholarship application where if you want to get a letter of recommendation from a current faculty member or even a supervisor, you input your recommender's name and their email address, and a online form will get emailed to them. And I get a lot of those because I give a lot of recommendations out, but it will get emailed to them, and it's a questionnaire. They don't necessarily have to write a letter. They just fill out the form online, and then when they hit submit, it generates into their online scholarship application. So that's another easier way of doing it. Sometimes, faculty members might say, like, I can get you a letter of recommendation, but it's going to take some time because I'm kind of overwhelmed right now. I have a lot on my plate to write a letter that is about you and everything. And I can get it to you, but it's going to be after the deadline, or it's not going to be on time. And so know that is an easier way of getting something to them right away. And they don't have to write a whole letter with letterhead or anything like that. They can just fill it out, and it's easier to submit.
And I know this really is contingent upon the amount of funding that's available, but you did mention you receive about 200 applications. In your experience, someone asked how many students are awarded scholarships.
So there's over 25 scholarships. Okay, so total 32. There's some on there that are MSTI scholarships. In the scholarship bulletin, you'll see that if you're in a STEM field or you're going to be a STEM teacher, there's about 8 of those total. So I'm not counting those in the 32. And then there's one other scholarship where the donor contacts me directly every year around this time and tells me, hey, I have 10 or 15 $500 scholarships that if you give me names of students who have a financial need, who have applied to your scholarships, and they really, they're good students, or they're in good standing, can you send me those names, and I'll mail them a check directly. So those are not even listed in those scholarship applications, okay, in the scholarship bulletin. So, and then I get contacted from other outside organizations who love what Cal State Fullerton is doing, who love what College of Ed is doing, and they want me to provide information regarding students who are doing community work, students who are making an impact in education, in higher ed, in K through 12, as administrators, teachers, counselors, whatever it is that they're doing. And they want information about them, and they get a check in the mail from them. There's all kinds of stuff that is happening that we can't list in the scholarship bulletin. What's listed in the scholarship bulletin is what our donors have donated directly. So they have like annual accounts. In other words, we have donors who have passed away, who left $500,000 to the College of Ed. That's where this funding is coming from. So yes, while we don't have $200 scholarships, we do have plenty of money out there. And there's some scholarships in there that are $3,000. There's some scholarships in there that are $500. I think the minimum is $500, but the rest are like $1,000. The majority are $1,000, and there's some that are $2,500, $3,000. The reason I love to promote our scholarships is because there's less competition. If you apply to ASI scholarships, which I highly recommend, because I highly recommend for you to apply to as many scholarships as possible, a lot of our students have benefited from them. You are competing against everyone else in Cal State Fullerton, to whoever applies to get these scholarships.